So a common problem I get with a lot of students when it comes to learning chord changes is they'll tend to overcomplicate things a lot of the time. Let me try give an example. So let's say I had a student and we had our lesson, our 45-minute lesson, and I said, all right, you're going to practice going from a D chord to an A chord, right? Very common chord movement that you'll be learning when you start guitar. And I say, okay, go away and practice that for the week. And they're like, sweet as. So they come back the next week and I ask them, I go, how'd you go with that chord change from D to A? And they go, I'm having a bit of trouble with it. And I go, okay, what's going on? Let me know. And they go, well, I play the D chord, and then when I go to the A, I lift off my middle finger and my first two fingers stay down, and then I manage to move all of them, but my third finger gets pushed down first, and then my first finger and my middle, and they're all moving at different times. And I go, okay, that sounds complicated. How long did you practice it for? And they go, I did 45 minutes of practice last week on Tuesday. And I go, well, are you referring to our 45-minute guitar lesson last Tuesday? And they go, oh yeah, that. No, not like that, but you get the idea, right? So let me give you an analogy. Let's say you were a toddler, was learning to walk. Okay, toddler learning to walk, and they're getting ready to do it, and they give it a shot. They try walk for the first time, and inevitably they fail. And then the toddler's like, look, I think the reason why I can't walk is because I lift my leg up, I'm bending my knee before I bend my hip, and then my weight falls. Okay, I don't know the mechanics of walking, but like my weight falls forward, and I think this is why I can't walk. You wouldn't go, yeah, I think you have a valid point. You would say, well, yeah, I think you got to just give it a few more goes, try walking a bit more apart from this one time, and those things will probably sort themselves out. The same principle applies to when you're learning a chord progression. Oftentimes we get fixated, people get fixated on these little details that aren't so significant and would most likely just sort themselves out if you just went through the motion of practicing this chord progression a whole bunch of times. Your brain has a way of figuring out where its shortcomings are and then addressing those issues kind of on like a subconscious level. So the idea behind all of this is stop over analyzing why you can't do a certain chord change until you've really given it a good go. Now, a good place to start, okay, let's stick with that example of a D to an A chord. Give yourself objective amount of times you want to practice that change in a session. So for example, I'll make students do this a lot. I'll say you're going to do that change 40 times. Okay, so they'll sit there one time, two times, and it obviously won't be that fast. It'll be like this to begin with. Right, slow. And we'll go through that 40 times. And then what will happen is they'll go, well, I'm not actually any better. Like even after 40 times, I don't feel like I'm a whole lot better. But have you ever played a video game, and you're stuck on the level, then you wake up the next morning and you can all of a sudden do it, right? When we sleep is when neurological adaptations tend to happen. Okay, same applies with guitar. You do this, okay, 40 times. You might not be better right after that, but the next day when you wake up, all of a sudden, this D to an A chord will seem very easy. Another example, say you're lifting weights, okay? You're not getting stronger while you're lifting the weights, okay? You get stronger once you've provided that stimulus by lifting the weights, and then the next day, your body adapts, and then you get stronger, right? Same kind of principle applies to guitar. So just don't overcomplicate these things until you've given it a really good shot. Now, it'd be a different story if you had practiced, okay, going D to A a whole bunch of times. You did it 40 times, 4 days of the week, and you still weren't getting better. Then, yeah, there might be some weird thing, but I've never seen that and I've never heard of that happening, so probably doesn't actually happen. So how should you practice these chord progressions now that we've talked about the mental side of things? As I said before, a really good way is just to give yourself an objective amount of times to play that chord progression. or that chord change. So let's say, again, let's say you're playing the E minor, G, D, A chord progression, and you're struggling from the D to the A chord. Just be like, okay, in each of my practice sessions, I'm going to do that 50 times, right? Just individually. So 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, right? And you can obviously adjust those amount of times to what you are capable of doing or what you think is necessary. Now, the one other method that's pretty good, and this will have more of an application to actually playing songs, is what you want to do. Go on my computer here. So you want to type in metronome on Google, or if you have a metronome app, you can use that too. Now, if you don't know what a metronome is, it's just a clicking sound like this that is measured in beats per minute, right? And you can adjust on Google the slider, right? Obviously, the less beats per minute, the slower it's going to be, and the faster, or the higher beats per minute, the faster it's going to be, right? This is a really good tool that musicians use to practice, just practice along in time with something. And if you're ever recording in a studio, this is what you will be having in your ears, probably, or live, actually. So what you want to do, let's say this D to A chord progression. We're going to start the metronome at 70 beats per minute. And what I'm going to do, so I'm going to get this going. I'm going to strum each chord 4 times, but I'm going to have 4 beats of rest in between the chord change, like this. I'll show you. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Doing the change. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Do that a few times. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Just like that. Then once you can do it at that speed, 70 beats per minute, you want to go up in increments of 5. I mean, you can do whatever, but 5 is a good starting place. Then you do the same at that. All right, slightly faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So on and so forth. Now, you're going to rinse and repeat this process until you get that to 100. Right? So then we're at 100. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. Okay, good job. Got into 100. But what you're going to do once you can do that is we're going to go back down to 70. Right? We're not just going to keep pushing the metronome up past 100. And then what we're going to do once we've gone back to 70 is we're going to do the exact same thing, strumming each chord 4 times, but we're going to subtract or minus one of those rest beats. So instead of having 4 rest beats in between, you're just going to have 3. So the chord change is actually going to be faster, right? All right, here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Right? So slightly quicker. And again, exact same process. You're going to do that up in increments of 5. So 75, 80, 85. You get the idea until you get that to 100. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Right? And then you might have caught on by now, but you're going to go back to 70. And again, subtract 1 rest beat. Okay, so now you're going to do 2 clicks in between. 1, 2. Right? Hope this is making sense. Right? So then you get that again to 100, then back down to 70 with 1 note or 1 click in between. Then you get that to 100, then back down to 70, and then you do it with no clicks in between, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so that's a really good method to practice it because it goes up in very small, manageable increments. It's still objective though. You know if you can do it one day at 80 with 3 clicks in between, that's your goal, to beat the next day. It's not like you're just sitting there and you're like, oh yeah, I think I'm faster. You know for a fact if you're getting faster if you could do it the next day at a higher BPM with less rests in between. Right? So I hope this video has helped. Bottom line, don't overcomplicate things with guitar or anything in life. Don't overcomplicate it. Just put in the time, put in the practice, have a plan though. Okay, so you've got a couple of exercises just going between the chords 40 or 50 times, whatever, as well as that metronome exercise, and you'll be on your way to playing some awesome chord progressions. Anyway, hope that was helpful. If you have any questions about this, or if you have any topics you would like covered in other videos, let me know in the comments. But thanks again, and see you next time.